Hi, folks. My name is Girish Bali, the host for Back2Basics. We're at Podfest, and we're chit-chatting with a certain person that I speak with him all the time. We're going to talk about business evolution, right? And we're talking about small businesses turning into big businesses. But the problem that we have and we face is priorities. What should we do? What should we not do? Those are the questions that we're going to be asking today. And Pete is a person that as I said, talked many, many times. So Pete's here at Podfest, and we're just connecting. And we're just in this conference room chit-chatting. Second episode so far from Back2Basics on Podfest, and here it is. So Pete, how are you? Thanks for coming to Back2Basics.
Hey, thanks for having me, Girish. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you again for coming here. But before we talk about the evolution and all that stuff that we talk about, what does Back2Basic mean to you?
Getting back to basics, well, my business is called Simplifying Entrepreneurship, and I think that's where we have some similarities. It's like getting back to the basics, simplify things down. Let's not make things complicated or too complicated.
Yeah.
There are ways around complication.
That's right.
That help us be better business owners. And when we have a better business, we have a better life.
That's right.
And I think that's where we connect.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
We connected earlier this morning. We had breakfast and we chit-chatted, and then coincidentally, I knew your business name, but I did not know your business name, if that makes sense,
No, I get
right?
it. Yeah.
And when I saw that business card, it kind of connected, and I'll tell you what it is, right?
Yeah.
What is it?
Simplifying?
That's it.
Yeah.
So when we say simplifying, we're talking about basic, right? So that's why and how we connected. So thank you again for coming on Back2Basics.
For sure.
And it's great to be here in Podfest.
Yeah,
But before we
it's
get into
been
that
fun.
stuff, what do you think so far on the Podfest so far?
Well, it's good to be live again.
Yeah,
It's good to be with people.
yeah,
It's good to connect. When we look at the power of what something like this can do, and for all of our listeners out there, think about the festivals, the whether they're this sort of thing, the trade shows, the places where you can go and talk to people that are in your industry. We talked about this earlier today, I'm pretty sure, because when you're a business owner, your partner at home generally doesn't want to hear about it anymore. They're like, enough, right? I'm done. I want to talk about other stuff. Your friends often don't get the struggles that you're going through as an entrepreneur. They don't understand it if they aren't entrepreneurs themselves or at the sort of level of entrepreneurship that you're at. And if you do have a team, your team usually is not as open as you would like. You can always say, I've got an open door policy, but nonetheless, you're paying them. And when you're paying them, often there's them actually tell exactly how they feel about things because they think that if you don't agree, there will be repercussions. So you kind of look at this step and it's like, who do we talk to? And who can I run my strategies by and all these different things. And, you can do that at something like this.
That's right.
In your industry, whatever that industry is, you can do that at these events. You get to talk to people who are going through the same struggles, who have already gone through them, which is even better.
Even better, right.
Because then we're having like a mentorship kind of conversation, which is like, wow. And you know what? Here's an interesting thing too. Most people, even if they're one or two levels above where you are, they want you to go through it quicker than they did.
Of course.
They want to see you succeed even faster than they did.
That's right.
The people in your industry aren't always competitors.
They're not.
They're there and they're like, oh man, I have done this. Here's what you need to do.
Yeah.
And if you can take one of those things from an event like this, your event's paid for.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
It's an amazing thing.
Yeah. Thank you again
Yeah.
for that, Pete. So let me ask you this. Now, the main reason that why we're here is that we're talking about business evolution, right?
Right.
So from small business to big businesses,
Yeah.
what are the processes? What are the thought processes? What are the priorities? I mean, the priority is to make money, and the priority is to be big. But not everyone
Is it,
becomes.
though?
You tell me.
Yeah, I don't know that it is. I think for some people the priority is to be big, but not every entrepreneur wants to have a $100 million business. People are in business because they want to actually do something. They have something in their mind, and whatever that is uniquely theirs. And that's okay. And not everyone wants that, $100 million business or $1 billion business or whatever the case is. And that's perfectly good too. So understanding what it is that you want out of your business is step one, so that you can really understand, okay, what do I want this business to provide back to me? And when I understand that, now I go at building the business to deliver it.
So you're saying that, let's say hypothetically, I need to cover $10,000 every month.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah,
So at least cover that basis first,
yeah. I mean,
and then move forward after that.
right. But you start with the end in mind, I think, as well, right? It's like, what do you want out of your life? And that's the one thing, when you're an entrepreneur, when you own your own business, you can now create the life that you want to create through your business. And the business is there to prop you up, not you to prop the business up. Now, in the early stages, you have to be there to prop the business up. I mean, that's part of starting a business. But once you kind of get it at a certain level, then you're kind of looking at saying, okay, now I've got things humming. I've covered my nut, whatever that nut is, because it's different for every person. And now what am I going to do? And how am I going to take that? And that's where I come in at most stages, where people are sort of at certain levels. They want to get to the next level with my coaching, whatever those levels are. There's different ones along the way. But usually you're kind of capped out at a certain level. And it's like, I need to get through some strategic thinking that's going to help me through and get through the next level of this, so that I can enjoy more of the things that I wanted and thought about and dreamt about when I started my business.
Wow, that's amazing. Thank you again for that. The thought process now is, back in the days we used to, and we talked about this earlier this morning, corporate job, you have a salary every bi-weekly.
Yeah.
Corporate job, you also have 401k.
Yep.
Corporate job, you have pension. Nowadays, I don't know if it has or not, but that's a separate topic
Yeah,
altogether.
it is.
But you get
I do.
But on the entrepreneur side, we don't have monthlies, bi-weeklies.
No.
We don't have 401ks. We don't have pensions. So what do we have, and why entrepreneurship?
Why? Well, good question. Because entrepreneurship isn't for everyone.
Right.
So, and I think that's an important piece. I mean, I'm not sure in the US, but I'm from Canada, but really, let's say about 7% of people, 7 to 10% of people are actually entrepreneurs. And there's a reason for that, because the other people don't want to be. They want the consistency. They want the sort of planability of this stuff. They want all of the things that the steady job, the regular income, all of that has. And if that's the sort of dependency that you need, then entrepreneurship isn't for you, and that's okay. I think that's an important piece, right?
It is.
Because it's not for everybody. But for those who are, the idea around, I'm okay with the risk that it's going to take to get this thing rolling because I want the reward. And we think of risk and reward. That's the idea. I've got this dream. I know what my freedoms I want out of my business. And I am prepared to put in the time, the effort, and the money in order to deliver that, because I have a vision of a better life. And often people are saying, well, the vision is really of the business. Well, no. I feel that the vision really is as the owner of that business, your vision of what you want out of life. And then you take your business to actually give that to you.
But the problem is that, thanks again, by the way,
Yeah.
Pete. But the problem is that you get satisfaction even at a 9-to-5 job and a corporate job. You get a satisfaction as an entrepreneur because at the end of the day, your grind levels that you've gone through, you see some light at the end of the tunnel. The same thing with the corporate job too. So don't you think?
Well,
now the definition is satisfaction.
It's, some people get, that's the thing. Everybody is unique. So some people get out of the corporate job, but I know lots of people that work corporate job and hate their job. But they're working it because they're saying, well, I'm going to get my pension, and I only got 8 years left to get my pension, and so I'll just put in my time.
Right.
Do you want to give up 8 years of your time just to get your pension at the end of it?
Right.
If you really hate what you do?
Right. Yeah.
So, I mean, this is the thing, right? And they're personal decisions. And because they're personal decisions, you have to make them. And that's perfectly good. But when you make those decisions, whether you elect that those decisions are great because you actually do like your corporate job, then you should stay in your corporate job. The reason a lot of people start businesses is because they're fed up with working different jobs, and they're like, I just can't do this anymore. I want to make my own way, have a mission and a plan, and I'm willing to take control of my own salaries and all the other things that represent entrepreneurship in order to take this idea that I have to deliver a promise to my clients and to make this thing happen. And I think that's just a different kind of person. Like I said, it's not for everybody. But for those who do it, it's like there's frustrations there too.
That's right.
Right? And there's always frustrations, whether you're corporate or whether you're entrepreneurial. That's just understandable. It's how do we push through them? How do we get through them?
But the situation, thank you again, by the way, you know, as an entrepreneur, you have to think out of the box sometimes. Don't
For
you?
sure, yeah.
Is it sometimes or is it all the time? I think it's all the time.
It's like never ending.
Never ending, right? But then some people, they're not built that way. So,
Yeah.
so then what do you say to those people? And
To those people, you need to hire somebody that actually is an ideas, like, in my opinion, there's leaders and managers. If you're a really good manager and you can like knock this stuff off because you manage really well, that doesn't mean you can't be a business owner because you're a good manager. You hire somebody that's the visionary for your business. You can still own that business. They can be the visionary. They can be the front person. They can be the ideas person that you're collaborating with. And you're the person because your skill set and the things that you actually love to do are more around the managerial side of things. Well, that's okay. The beauty of being an entrepreneur is you can choose that because it's your business.
that's right.
That's the beauty.
That is a beauty,
right?
yes.
You're not being told, go over here, go do this. You're here on the accountability chart, so plunk. You're actually the one saying, okay, I need somebody else to come in who's an ideas person because I'm not an ideas person. Or maybe I'm scared of being the communicator or the front person or the salesperson or the bookkeeper or whatever. The thing is, I've got a whole platform around love. It's called Love It or Leave It. And as the entrepreneur, you can truly do the things that you love to do in your business and leave the rest of the stuff to other people. Once you're at a certain point where it's more than just you.
Of course.
But even when it is just you can outsource a lot of that stuff
Yes,
too,
yes, you
which
can.
is cool and
That's
a
right.
whole nother topic and another podcast. But, you know, the beauty of it is that it's your choice as the entrepreneur. You're not going to be laid off. You're not going to be told that you're shifting gears. You're not going to be told that you're going to move to another area that you don't like to, you really don't want to move to. You have the choice. But with that choice comes a lot of risk and comes a lot of responsibility. And when you're signing the checks for 20 other people or 100 other people or whatever, you can feel the weight of saying, oh, a recession's coming. I've got 100 families that I'm supporting here through the business and all their kids. We're going to have to make some layoffs. I've done this. It's not fun. It's a terrible thing knowing that you're going to have to lay off some really good people. Not fun. So, you know, as much as everybody says entrepreneurs, you know, they can do what they want and they can blah, blah, blah. Well, no, I mean, they work freaking hard.
Yeah.
They're pounding away. They have to make hard decisions that affect other people's lives. Is there risk? Yeah, a lot. Is there reward? Sometimes a lot. Are you ready for that? Not everybody is. 7-10% of people are.
Yeah. Thank you again, Pete, for that.
Yeah.
You know, your company is called
Simplifying Entrepreneurship. Yeah. Same with
right?
my podcast.
But
It's all
is
the
it
same.
but is it really that simple?
Nothing's simple. But what I try to do is help people get the craziness that's going around in their heads out of their heads, onto paper, in frameworks that make sense so that they can then make decisions and actionable items to move ahead. Knowing what their promise is, knowing what they want out of it, knowing their product, their promise, their process, their people, so that you can really thrive through this stuff in complete alignment so that everybody in your organization knows the answers to the questions that you're fed up with answering because they're coming to you all the time. It's like when you have to make every single decision for every single person in your organization, my feeling is that decisions should be made at the very lowest level they possibly can, so that the people that are at different levels can be making and working on bigger decisions. And that's how the business grows. That's how the business starts to gain some momentum. And you know what? The people at all levels, they actually want to make decisions. And when you're taking the decisions away from people that are underneath you, they feel that.
But
They
then
they want to make them.
but in a corporate job, you're technically, well, depending on the position, but you're technically a follower versus a leader.
Right.
An entrepreneur, you're a leader.
All the time. Unless you hire the leader and I've seen that. I mean, I literally have seen that where you're set up so that you're an owner, but you actually have a CEO that's above you, who's actually in charge. You've appointed them. Ultimately, you're still their boss because you're the owner. Sometimes that CEO becomes a partner or a junior partner or some of that sort of stuff. I
Eventually.
mean, there's
Yeah.
ways,
Yeah.
right? There's workarounds and everything. But ultimately, if you're feeling that the gap is actually you for growth, then you need to find somebody else to help you grow.
Yeah, yeah.
And whatever that position is, based on your strengths, you collaborate with that person to build the business that you want
So
to build.
basically, the thing is that if anyone wants to get into entrepreneurship and they
Yeah.
don't know nothing about businesses,
Yeah.
let's hire someone so then you and that person can be successful at the same time.
If they can afford to hire somebody.
Of course,
you
that's
know,
another capital that
it
we need to
is.
talk about,
It's
right?
another one, right? I mean, because everybody has different layers of capital. Everybody has different layers of time. Time's another one, right? There's money and there's time. I own several businesses. Well, I don't work full-time in any of them. Because I've set my businesses up so that there's accountabilities in place and people are making decisions. When I'm here in Florida with you,
Yeah.
my stores are going, my stuff's happening, there's things being posted, there's like stuff is going on without me being there.
Yes, yes.
And that's because I've set up the right processes and things along the way.
Yeah.
Now, sometimes those go bad.
Sure,
People get
of
sick,
course.
people get COVID. I'm still the owner. So that when the shit hits the fan, I'm still responsible,
course you are.
ultimately responsible.
That's right.
Right?
That's
So if there's nobody to open the doors that day, we own some retail stores. So if there's nobody to open the doors because everybody's down with COVID and I don't have COVID, I'm going to open the door. But that doesn't happen. Like, I mean, we've got things set up and I'm the fifth in line. So in fifth in line, I'll open the door. So, because we have that set up already,
Sure,
right?
sure.
But was there a time where I opened the door every day? For sure. Was there a time where I stayed every day? Yes. Those are those startup phases that you just need to put in your time. You need to learn that stuff. You need to go, because when you're setting up the processes that you're going to eventually hand off and delegate and somebody else is going to be accountable for, those processes typically in the early stages are being set up by you. Right? Instead of somebody else. Now, most of the processes in our businesses now, I actually have who's ever performing them set up the processes because things have changed a lot since I started.
That's of course.
And they've bettered because I've had even better people doing the jobs that I used to do because they love it and I didn't. And I've handed it off to them and they're like, we should do it this way and this way. And I'm like, you absolutely should. I wish I would have thought of that. You're way better at this than me anyway. So do it the way. And when you do it, let's set up the process so that when you get elevated in the business, somebody else already has the process in place and they can just do it.
Yeah, thank you again, Pete.
Yeah.
The last question,
Yeah.
and it's a part one or a part two question.
Yeah, cool.
Do you love it or do you not love it?
No, I love it. I love what I do. And that's, like I said, with one of the processes that I have and one of the forms that I take all my clients through, it's called Love It or Leave It. And I work 85% of my time in what I call my love it zone. Having these conversations with you, with other people, with my clients, I love talking business. It gives me power. It gives me strength. It gives me energy and excitement. I don't like to do book work.
Yeah, of course.
And I'm skilled. I have an MBA. I've got 2 business degrees. I can do book work. I understand it. I'm very good at it. I don't want to do it. It sucks the life out of me. And, for those that are listening, if you're doing stuff in your business that sucks the life out of you, that's the first thing that you need to set up the process and try to find somebody to outsource. That's the very first thing. Because as soon as you start doing that and you find somebody that's actually doing it and you see them and they're like, woohoo, every time they balance the Visa statement, they're like, woohoo, they love it. Why would I not want somebody else who loves bookkeeping to do my bookkeeping for me instead of me, who hated it, even though they were good at it, to do something like that? It's like, I'll gladly give you that. You can woohoo all day long. And when I'll go and do even more of the stuff that I love to do that I don't get enough time for, and live in my love it zone as much as I can. And that's what I want to help other entrepreneurs do.
The second part question is, you love automation, don't you?
Yeah, no, I do.
And we
Yeah.
talked about
Yeah,
this earlier
we
this
did.
morning.
Yeah.
Okay, so do you think that automation has made you easy to lead your company, you lead your entrepreneurship track?
Automation is one tool. A plumber has their stack of tools. A carpenter has their stack of tools. Everybody has a stack of tools. I look at automation as a tool. And if I was a plumber, I wouldn't buy my tools at Walmart or at some,
course.
I
Of
wouldn't
course.
buy an $8 hammer. I'd buy a $100 hammer if I was using the hammer every day. So when I look at these things, I look at the tools that I use in automation for some of the things around, like I'm quite prepared to pay dollars for some of these tools because they're giving my time back. They're doing things consistently even better than I can do them. I don't even have to think about them. They happen overnight. They happen when I'm not even around. So when I look at that kind of stuff, my time's valuable. And I charge a lot for my time. I do. So if I can get more of that time so that I can actually work more with clients, that's a better use of my time than, so I look at all of those different things about automation, and it takes away some of the frustrations
Of
that I
course.
had. It's
Of
like
course.
some of these tedious things that I just don't like to do, it takes it away.
Yeah, you and I discussed this earlier
Why
this
do I not
morning.
want that?
Of course.
I love it. Love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pete, thank you again for coming here, and you have already said your last words, but is there any last words you want to say to my listeners and my viewers?
Yeah, I think, if you're thinking about being an entrepreneur, think about some of the stuff we talked about. Entrepreneurism isn't for anybody. There are risks. There are rewards. For me, it's been a great life. I started 6 months after university. I worked for 6 months for somebody else. Great business, awesome owner, really liked him. And, I decided at that time, I like this business, I like this owner, but I think I just need to be my own boss. 28 years ago, never looked back. Owned many businesses, bought and sold businesses, helped people in all sorts of different industries, still own businesses and help coach business. It was the right choice for me. And I'm glad I did it. And I think, for anybody who's looking at doing it, think about some of the stuff we talked about. And for anybody who's in it and feeling as though they're frustrated, they've hit these ceilings, they're not getting the freedoms that they wanted to, then, we should chat.
Yeah. Pete, thank you again for coming here. And the last question, I
Yeah.
promise you,
Yeah.
how was your journey on Back to Basics?
Awesome. Yeah, it's been great. I mean, this year's setup is cool. We're doing this live. It's fun. I haven't done a podcast interview live ever.
Yeah.
Face to face
Yeah,
here. I mean,
yeah.
we can touch each other, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's always on Zoom. It's always on some sort of form.
Yeah.
So it's been cool to do this right here with you and have a face to face interview.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
really a lot of fun. Thanks for having me.
Pete, thank you again for coming on Back to
Yeah,
Basics, okay?
my
And
pleasure.
we'll keep on connecting with each other, I'm pretty sure, and we're not going anywhere, are
No,
we?
no.
So, yeah, thank you again, Pete, for coming on Back to Basics.
Pleasure.
So, guys, we spoke with Pete today, and we talked about the basics of entrepreneurship, right? And we talked about that, yeah, it is a tough life. It's not easy. Nothing's easy in life anyway, right? So, as usual, as always, what do we always say? I mean, there's a quote of the day from Back to Basics, and the quote is, well, here's not a quote. It's actually a saying what we usually say. Don't work harder, work smarter, right? Because that's what we talked about. We talked about automation. We talked about planning ahead. We talked about the things that we do. That's what this whole quote is all about. Now, as usual, as always, what do we always say at the end of the episode? And I think Pete doesn't know this. everything in life goes back to basics, and that's what we did today, guys. Guys, take care. God bless. Keep on commenting on all my episodes because you know what? It helps me in the long run, makes me stronger because your comment makes it better for me. And there are three things in every episode, including this episode, makes it a successful one. For me, that is, which is the content, the guest who's sitting right here, and the third one is the host. Guys, take care, God bless, and keep on subscribing. And take care and God bless. And I will see you next time on Back to Basics. Take care.